make way for the decorated ESPN senior baseball insider, Jeff Passan, who joins us on the program. If you have to go, just say, I got to go, and then you hang up. I know you're busy, okay?
You know what? I think that's a good way to approach this.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I'm going to have to go, but I appreciate the out.
All right. Juan Soto, the likelihood he will be dealt before Tuesday is what, in your opinion?
80-20. And I want to focus first on that 20. That 20 depends on Mike Rizzo, the Washington Nationals general manager. If he continues to stick with the ask that he has put out to teams up until this point, I'm not sure Juan Soto's going anywhere because he's been asking for 125% of Juan Soto's value. He's been asking for 5-6 players from teams, and not just 5 or 6 like guys. No, like 5 or 6 tippy top prospects from every organization he's been talking to. And so if the ask remains at that, then I'm not sure Juan Soto is going anywhere for now. But if he comes down a little bit, I think the San Diego Padres could jump. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers could jump. I think the St. Louis Cardinals could still be in the mix, though that depends on their pursuit of starting pitching. Same goes for the Seattle Mariners. But the Padres and Dodgers at this point seem like the likeliest landing spots for him.
And if you look at what you have to give up and then what you have to pay, I mean, that it's hard to check the box on both of those to say we have what you want, and then we also have what he wants as well. And
Yep.
Has the Mike Trout contract, will it affect these longer-term contracts, do you think, as we move forward?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Not going to scare anybody.
I don't. No, I was having this discussion with someone earlier this week who said to me the Mike Trout contract is underwater. I'm like, the Mike Trout contract is not underwater at all. I think if you went now, granted, we need to see how he comes back from this back injury, but every indication that I've gotten talking with people is that the initial report from the trainer was a little bit overblown. Trout himself said that later on that day, and that the concerns of something long-term really hampering him are not particularly high. But this is a rotational sport, Dan, and this is a back injury, and you have to rotate around your spine for literally every important thing that you do. So back injuries in baseball can be particularly difficult for guys to come back from. We saw it with Don Mattingly. We saw it with David Wright. I hope to heavens that we do not see the same with Mike Trout because, you know, Barry Bonds accepted it's the most amazing player I've seen in my nearly 2 decades covering baseball now. But the notion that long-term big money contracts might be going, no, it's more dependent on the market and the desire for these elite types of players than it is on whether big contracts in the past have succeeded or failed. You're going to have successes. You're going to have failures. That doesn't take away your desire to have the best talent on your team.
What's the market for Shohei Ohtani?
Everyone. I mean, let's put it this way. If I told you, Dan, that you could go and get Max Scherzer and Matt Olson, and it's the same person, what would you say to that? Nah, hard pass. No, of course you're going to want him. What's the ability for teams to go get him? Well, that's dependent on 2 things. Number one, the talent level in your organization. I'd say probably half the teams in baseball have the types of players that the Angels would want to get back in any prospective Shohei Ohtani deal. But number 2 is the appetite for actually going and moving a true, and this word gets thrown around. No, Shohei Ohtani is a true generational talent.
And global.
And the idea, yes, and global. And unlike anyone, any of us watching, listening, alive have ever seen. I mean, Ohtani is doing things even better than Babe Ruth. Like, that's the crazy part of this whole thing. he came over here and it was like, well, are we going to see No, we're going to see actually better than Babe Ruth in terms of his ability to do both at the same time.
Okay, but why would the Angels have him available or at least be listening?
They're listening because you should listen on everyone to see if somebody does such a asinine Godfather offer that you'd be dumb to say no to it. Like, they're listening as a matter of course. I think they're listening perhaps for information. A lot of the trade talks this time of year, you read, I don't do this because I don't think talks are a reportable thing, because if you're not talking with your cohorts, then you stink at your job. But a lot of these talks are nothing more than exploratory, trying to pick up on a cue somewhere where maybe you get a sense that a team doesn't like a player quite as much as you do. And then at the GM meetings or the winter meetings a few months down the road, you can go back and say, hey, what about this guy in a different type of deal? So I think it's more informational at this point, and hopeful perhaps that they get an offer that they at least can take to their owner. But I don't think Artie Moreno, honestly, right now has any desire or intention to trade Shohei Ohtani. The one guillotine that is hanging over the entire proceeding is this: the Angels don't look like they're necessarily going to be very good next year, Dan. And Shohei Ohtani is a free agent after the 2023 season. So if you were to move him now, it would make a whole hell of a lot of sense, because the return's going to be a lot greater for, a year and a half than it might be if you trade him at the deadline next year.
If you were Shohei Ohtani's agent, are you negotiating for two players' salaries?
Yes. Yeah, you're negotiating for the biggest average annual value salary in baseball history.
So you're looking at $50 million more?
Yes. That's to me, that's the floor. I mean, we listen, Dan. We laughed. Damian Lillard, I believe, just signed a 2-year, $120-something million extension. I understand the NBA is a different game than Major League Baseball, but Shohei Ohtani is a different player than the other 1,229 in the rest of the league.
Okay, I give you Juan Soto for 5 years, Shohei Ohtani for 5 years, same price.
Oh, goodness. That's a good one. I'm probably going Ohtani, just because the upside for having dominant talent on both sides of the game is there. But I'm questioning myself instantaneously, because I don't know how I can pass up on Juan Soto's ages 24 through 28 seasons. Like, this is a guy who I believe by the time it's all said and done is going to be one of the 10 best hitters in Major League Baseball history. Like, that's how fond I am of Juan Soto's offensive approach to the game and all of his skills. So, God, that is quite the question, Dan Patrick. And I might actually end up writing a story asking that same question now, because I gotta think a lot more about this. That's one of those where you get on the spot and you're like, oh, that host is just a terrible person for asking that.
Or you could say, a source asked me this question. You don't have to use my name. You can edit me out, okay, if you need to. Thanks for joining us as always, Jeff.
All right, I'm going to go check my phone right now.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay. That's Jeff Passan, ESPN Senior Baseball Insider.